And then I'm also going to welcome folks that say good morning. It's Thursday, no, it's not March yet. It's still February 25th here on the East Side. And we're talking about putting this network to the test, getting prepared for civil unrest. And our Senior Commander Kurt Hallstrom from the St. Paul Police Department, Senior Commander of the Eastern District, is on with us today. And we'll get a glimpse of who else is here in the room too, in the Zoom. I'm gonna put our agenda in the chat. So there's that. And if you will, put your contact information, name, organization, and a brief peek at what your group does on the chat too. That'll help you orient as we do some introductions as well. So here we go. We'll get started with our topic today. But before we do, I want to do a brief welcome to everyone on the call. And if you'll turn on your cameras, we can also just do a brief hand wave for our industry and just to give Senior Commander Hallstrom and everyone else a look at us and a sense of who's in the room. So pop on your cameras here, if you will, and we will just do this in the way that we usually do. So if you run a business on the East Side, give us a big wave if you run a business on the East Side. So I see Brooke Lee from Anchor Paper, Darren Varley from DB Creative, Jorge Samper from Sunray BP. Who else? Any other businesses on the call? Oh, Taylor from Mueller Memorial. Thank you. Okay, good deal. Krista from the St. Paul Saints. I mean, well, let's give you credit. You run the place. Right on. Other businesses looking good. Payment Smith is also, that's Tyler Tran, a business that serves the East Side. If you are a part of a nonprofit on the East Side, give us a wave. So we've got Jean Melanson from Cornerstone, Elaine from Hazel Park Learning Center, Kayla from East Side Elders, Chelsea from Visit St. Paul. I'm coming down. I see Randy from MSS, Midwest Special Services. I see Shatika and Andrea from Family Values for Life. Krista, let's give you credit for being also from the Historic Mounds Theater. Chris Shapira from the St. Paul Firefighters Foundation. Haley Ball from Urban Roots. Just turned on her camera. Got her in a moment there. Any other nonprofits on with us today? Did I miss anybody? Oh yes, Rebecca. East Side Elders, District 4 Community Council, the Lions. What else do you do, Rebecca? Just about everything. Oh no, she was going to tell us. That's okay. We'll let you tell us later. Put it in the chat. Okay, and then there's some folks that oh yes, how about public-private partnerships like the St. Paul Port Authority? Tanya and Lori, welcome to the party. So glad you're here. Other public servants, we've got Commander Hallstrom, of course, from the St. Paul Police Department. Did I miss anybody else from the public sector? Oh, Katie Matson-Daly from the Beloved Church over Greater East Side. All right, then there's some folks that we don't know. Let's get them introduced to us. Joanna Keller-Flores, I think you're new to the show. Go ahead and unmute and tell us who you are. She's working on unmuting.
Hi, sorry. The name is actually not, I'm Lilia McInnes. I'm the outreach coordinator with the East Side Arts Council.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the name just hasn't been updated on the Zoom account yet, so.
You can change that under participants right now if you want to. Tell us your name again, though.
Sorry?
Sorry, just tell us your name again.
Lilia McInnes.
Fantastic. Welcome to the show. And if you will put you put your stuff in the chat. I see it. Welcome. I see Carla. No, is that Carla from the St. Paul Firefighters Foundation as well? Carla, you're new.
Yes, it is. Yes, I haven't joined in a while. I work with Chris Shapiro at St. Paul Fire Foundation, sit on the board there, and I'm also with Alliance Bank downtown St. Paul. It's been a while since I've been able to join, but hello, everyone.
Thank you. Welcome.
And I don't have any video capabilities. I'm not trying to be rude.
That's perfectly all right. Thank you. So, and I think that, and then 651-233-2303, is that Hussein today?
Nope, that's Carla still. That's
it's Carla.
call.
That's your, okay, gotcha. That's your voice. All right, good. I think that's, David Alarcon is here from Municiport, the Chicagoland area. He's the security consultant for Sunray Shopping Center and is working with ESABA on a work group on this very topic. So I invited him to join us today as a special guest to listen into the conversation and share things that are coming to mind for him. Haley, it looks like you've also got a special guest on with you. That's your daughter, is it?
Sorry, I'm on an iPad. Yep, this is my daughter, Zara. My partner is a clinical social worker and has clients right now. So at this time, usually. Elmo. Nope, no Elmo.
I don't know. I mean, we could do a song and dance. We're almost Elmo. All right, we're not. Okay, here we go. I don't even pretend. All right, let's get started with our topic. So welcome, everybody. Glad to have you on today. We are recording this Zoom for the folks who weren't able to join us, and we'll be putting it on our public YouTube site. So we've got Senior Commander Kurt Hallstrom here with us today, Eastern District, St. Paul PD, to talk about what the city knows, what the police department knows, and what they're preparing for. This is an important topic for us as we think about what's the association's role in supporting businesses that are also thinking about getting prepared. So this is what our work group is working on, and we're meeting 3 Mondays in a row. We've got a great group working on that. Before we let's get right down to business, Senior Commander, and then I'll talk about sponsors and other things like that and recognize our board members. But I want to give you a chance to try out your Zoom skills. Commander and I were talking just a minute ago about using the PowerPoint function here. So I'm going to give you hosting capability, Senior Commander, and then after I do that, you should be able to share your screen. So you can give it a try down at the bottom there. If you push share screen, you should be able to pull up your PowerPoint. Oh, he's doing it.
Has everybody got that?
We got it. You look great.
All right. Yep. All right. Well, what do you know? Technology works for me. So good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining in today. I noticed that the field seems to be a little bit larger than it has been over the last couple of weeks. So thanks for joining us, and we're making a pretty hard push to get in front of as many people as we can as the trial of the Minneapolis officer approaches, to give information, share information, and make sure that you know how to get in contact with us as we approach, and you know where to go to get information if you have questions in going forward. So this is the same PowerPoint that Deputy Chief Murphy gave to the City Council last night. It basically has some talking points. You know, if it's part of this a recorded presentation, that's perfect, and we can share and distribute to those that you think would benefit from seeing it and viewing it. And follow-up questions can be emailed to me, or Paris knows how to get a hold of me. My contact information is in the chat there. I think most of you know how to find me if you're looking for me. So I'm gonna get right into it, and you know, I hope that this is a meeting that we can have again with different participants. So the more people that we share with and can get to come to the meeting on Thursdays, the better off and more informed and educated we're going to be on what we think we're going to be seeing and how the city is prepared for the events. Does anybody have any? Well, here's so this is the, there we go. I had a bunch of faces over my talking points. So in this PowerPoint, we'll talk quickly about timelines and upcoming events, planning and preparations from the city, the police department, PED, Parks and Rec, mayor's office, Public Works, all of the city entities are planning and preparing, so we can, you know, the difference between this time and what happened last May and June is we have had a year to prepare versus we have 12 hours to get our stuff in motion. So what we suggest, or what you might be able to do to protect your business, and then how to partner with the SPPD, and then Q&A, questions and answers at the end. So we'll just move right into the next one. So I'm sure most everybody is aware that the trial for the Minneapolis officer Chauvin is set to start on March 8th. That start date is going to be jury selection. you know, I think I've read in some papers that the trial will not start any time before probably the end of March. So that's kind of the timeline that we're going on. That's not set in stone. We don't have an inside track as to what's going on there with the Hennepin County courts. So we're kind of given a swag on it. So then the trial is going to start. We're anticipating that there'll be some protests and demonstrations, mainly in Minneapolis. We don't have any intel to indicate otherwise. For everybody in the groups that's here today, effective Saturday, the St. Paul Police Department is going to stand up a intel unit. So it's going to be a unit led by a commander and having several very tech savvy individuals that will, be using technology, social media, and all of the other various platforms and programs that are out there to try to gather up intel, not even specific this to this. Hopefully it'll continue year round and be able to then, feed that information out to officers in the community when it's appropriate. So that's something that we're firing up on Saturday. So that's a good thing for us and you. So then it'll move into trial, probably, based upon my experience, probably 3-4 weeks in there for that trial. And then it'll go closing arguments with the attorneys, deliberations. We all know that can take anywhere from a couple hours to a week or more. And then the verdict, like it says on the PowerPoint, these are all, just kind of strategic guesses. This is a worldwide event. We are well aware of that. The metro area we all know that the eyes of the world are going to be upon us come end of March, April for sure. Hopefully we're wrapped up and done with this by, end of April, early May. But there's going to be protests. There's going to be marches. There's going to be demonstrations. We have our fingers crossed that they all remain peaceful. We are, the next slide will cover it, but we are dedicated 100% to allowing people to have their First Amendment rights to protest and demonstrate and get their message out there peacefully. We are also 100% committed to, protect life, protect property, and make sure that we don't see a repeat of what happened last spring. And we're anticipating they could start as soon as the 8th. They could, we have regular demonstrations and marches and rallies in St. Paul on a regular basis. We've had them consistently since 2016, and when you had the Philando Castile Falcon Heights officer incident, 2016. So that
FIAC payment, I told her to put an FIAC payment in there.
We've had those demonstrations. We are very good at those. We have excellent relationships with a lot of the groups that are out there demonstrating, and we're engaging with those groups before we get to the point where we have to, work with them on the day of the event. So then, and as a note on the bottom, the other Minneapolis officers, that trial is scheduled to start near the end of August 2021. But depending upon what happens with some appeals and things, this timeline could be thrown into disarray really quick. So as I said, our primary focus is going to be to protect people. And when we say protect people, we mean everybody's rights to peacefully assemble and demonstrate their free speech and get their message out and get their platform heard. With that does not include violence. That does not include destruction of property. There's been a lot of hand wringing and teeth gnashing over, the closure of freeways and things like that. That's the State Patrol's domain, and we will be in support of them. And those are their decisions to make. And I think that everybody understands that you have a right to demonstrate, but you're putting a lot of lives in danger down on the freeways. So the second goal is to protect property, not to have the widespread vandalism, looting, and destruction of property like we saw in May and June. And again, protecting free speech. So what we have done is we learned, you know, every time we've done this, we've learned a lot. I have been, me personally, I have been involved heavily with this. As most of you know, I came from special operations. I was put in charge of special ops in 2017, and I remained there until I was transferred over and given the opportunity to lead the Eastern District in July of 2019. So I had almost 2 years of experience there, and we really got good at what we did with managing groups and crowds, and you know, it's hard to believe that it's been over a year since we've had any special events in the cities, you know, like the Cinco de Mayo festival and those things. We got really good at managing those and making sure that everybody was safe and getting the security measures in place. So in May and June last year, you know, we had a lot of resources that were tapped and dedicated to managing that incident, you know, the Midway area and just the sheer volume of looting and crim damage. This time we have partnered through, we have a East Metro Coalition. So there's going to be more officers and National Guard and others that are going to be available to help us to manage the protest and potential unrest. We've had a standing mobile field force pretty much nonstop since 2008 RNC. If you were around the metro area for the RNC, you remember that was a pretty big deal. Since 2011, it's been actually a solid core group. And then in 2016, that really even solidified even more. So pretty much every officer at the St. Paul Police Department's been trained in mobile field force tactics and procedures. So we had that before, and we've just doubled down on that through the course of the last year to improve our abilities there. This last in-service training we had, we partnered with the St. Paul Fire Department. So what we realized last spring is, you know, we hadn't coordinated and trained with fire how we are going to make sure and protect the fire department, so they're able to then focus their job on, you know, extinguishing that fire or providing that medical treatment or whatever. So we've partnered with them so they are comfortable with us and we are comfortable with what they're going to be doing, knowing what the equipment has, what the responsibilities are, etc. And like I said earlier, we are continuously, every day, we're trying to, you know, talk to the protest groups and letting them know, you remain peaceful, you work with us, you know, if you'll tell us where you'll go, we'll make sure you assemble, you go, and you get home. And the goal at the end of the day is everybody that was there, no matter what their thought process was, what their mission is, whatever it is they're promoting, doesn't matter. We want you and your group and everybody else to go home safe at the end of the day. So we've been in constant contact since 2016 with the hospitals. You know, the Capitol, the Governor's Mansion, all have an impact on the hospitals. There's multiple ambulance services, and we have some of the best medical facilities in the metro area, in Regions, United, and Children's, right downtown. So we have to make sure that we maintain those facilities and the ingress and egress for ambulances and medical teams to get in and out of them. We have the State Capitol complex, so we're constantly in communication with the State Patrol, who is responsible for the law enforcement agency responsible for security and the policing of the Capitol grounds. It's a unique relationship that we have with the State Patrol. We've only built on that relationship over the years, but we've always worked well with them. So the State Capitol grounds are the State Patrol's responsibility, but the roads and the streets that run through the State Capitol compound are the responsibility of the police department. So we have a very good working relationship with the State Patrol and how we engage and work with them in addressing protests and demonstrations and marches and things at the Capitol. You're going to see the law enforcement buildings. Unlike last time where we had to quickly try to get the barriers up to protect government buildings, law enforcement buildings specifically. So you're going to see barriers again start to go up around the district offices. So starting tomorrow, they're going to put some additional concrete barriers around the Eastern District. The headquarters complex with the sheriff's office downtown is going to, that security is going to get increased a little bit. The Western District at Hamlin, that's also going to, excuse me, have a similar setup as what we have here in East. So you're going to see some things that are kind of back to where it was back in May and June. It's only temporary, but what we don't want to do is we don't want to, we don't want to lose a government building similar to the 3rd Precinct over in Minneapolis. That's not good for anybody. Also, when we have these security measures in place, it just requires less officers to be dedicated to protect the physical structures of our buildings that can then respond to 911 calls and other things out throughout the city. So I mentioned that we have the East Metro Response Group. St. Paul Police Department is part of that. So you can see on there, you got Ramsey County, Washington County, Dakota County, State Patrol, the St. Paul Fire Department, St. Paul Emergency Management, always been a great partner with us. And then the Minnesota National Guard, approximately 1,000 Guard members will be stationed with us. We're going to have some that will be embedded here and assisting us with team security, and they will be able to then alleviate more of that responsibility of us having to, be at the gates and things like that. So we can have more officers, one, responding to protests and demonstrations and making sure that that's going off well. And then we can also have a robust response to the community 911 calls and all of the other services that we normally are responsible for. We're really gonna try to maintain the level of service that the community is expected of us, right? That we've worked hard to build on and provide. And then there's also the Operation Safety Net, which is similar to what the East Metro has done, but it's Minneapolis. That's on the other side of the river where they have Minneapolis, Hennepin County, State Patrol, Transit, National Guard, and a bunch of others. But that's separate planning from ours, but we are communicating with them and we are able to do a metro-wide response if we have to, expand what we currently have for us here in St. Paul, or if something happens in Minneapolis, we can respond to that as well. I don't know if Paris sent out this flyer. This flyer was created and I shared it with the people that I have for contacts. But as you're planning, and David, maybe you can talk about it when I'm done with the PowerPoint. But David really has taken a proactive approach, which I give all the credit in the world, and just it's fantastic planning. The more planning you can do pre-event, the better off we're going to be, and the better off more prepared you're going to be. The time to develop a plan is not in the crisis. The time to prepare for a crisis is ahead of the incident. So for private business, create an updated emergency and security plan. That would include, how do I communicate with my employees? What do I do if I hear from Twitter, St. Paul Police Twitter, that there's a protest coming? Do I send my employees home? Do I shelter in place? What do I do with that, and what does that look like? Security plans. I'm not going to recommend that you board up your windows and things like that. If that's something you're interested in, I think that would be something you should consult with your insurance company. First, we're hearing of some places that did that, and then the insurance company denied claims. So work with your insurance provider to make sure that you are following their guidelines and things like that. But even if you don't preemptively do that, have a plan in place to facilitate should that be something that is needed. I can't really promote anybody, but there are films that you can put on your windows that are not cheap, but they're not outrageously expensive, that might prohibit and make it not have to have a board up crew, but they're able to stop glass from being broken out, so to speak. It'll still shatter, but they won't be able to break it out. Pick up things around your property, garbage cans, dumpsters, miscellaneous. If you have an auto shop and you have a back lot, securing all of the things that can be picked up and used to break windows or just loose items around. And then finally, this would be something that we can all do better at is reporting suspicious and criminal behavior. The more we start looking out for our neighbors as a community, the better off we're going to be. Report suspicious vehicles without plates. That's something that we would encourage you to do even now. Though we saw it starting last year in April and May, people coming in from out of town, taking their plates off, then they could run around and be, so to speak, anonymous. What we're also finding right now is currently people are, everybody I'm sure has seen the increase in auto theft and the increase in carjackings and robberies. What they're doing is they'll steal the cars and then take the plates off and then run around, or potentially steal other plates and put on the car. We are offering an anti-theft license plate program. That's a topic for another discussion, but if you have any questions on it and there's time, we can talk about it today. Otherwise, I will join later in another meeting and we can talk about that. We are also very soon going to be starting a program where you can supply your business name, your address, your phone number, your email, and stuff like that, that if you have video, then if we have a crime or something that we need to investigate, we know where the video cameras are. We have the rings and all of the videos out there that we could reach out positively instead of having officers just randomly start knocking on doors. And then again, watch out for your neighbors. The SPPD Crime Prevention Unit, I think Segal has been on the meeting before, but that's the person that is our Eastern District Crime Prevention Coordinator for us. She does a fantastic job. There's also, Paris, I sent you a link to a smart sheet form that if you want more specific information or want to have another meeting outside of ESABA, you can, if Paris can share that link with everybody, you can provide your information and that'll go to the crime prevention people and they will work with you to schedule whatever that meeting looks like.
Fantastic. I'll look for, did you send that to me via email? I'll put that in
I did.
Okay.
I just sent it to you email. And if after I'm done with this presentation, I'll have time that I could also share it in the group chat too. So either way, we'll get it out to you. Social media platforms. I'm not a Twitter guy, so I have no idea what that means, but at SPPDMN and the Facebook St. Paul Police Department is the general email platform. During this time of unrest, if there's active unrest, I will be assigned to the downtown in the emergency operations center. So, don't be looking at the St. Paul Police Department Eastern District Facebook page for updates, because that's not going to be the place to get it. So like the St. Paul Police Department's Facebook page, like the Eastern District too, please. We share a lot of information on there, crime safety tips, community meetings information, stuff like that. And then watch Operation Safety Net social media platforms. So that must be the overarching title of the situation. I hope to be able to get in front of you again in the future, multiple times. I think that I try to join Paris's meeting every week so we can have opportunities there. And I think Sunray's having a specific meeting next week in March. And then I'm sure that there's going to be further opportunities for us to communicate going forward. I'm going to take this slide down now and unshare, stop sharing, so everybody can see me, or I can see everybody. And then I'm just going to go on mute, and if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Senior Commander. If you will also just make me the host again, if you will. There were a couple questions that got into the chat as well, so I'll start right there. And then if folks have a question, either drop it in the chat or gesticulate wildly, however you like to just say, hey, pick me.
How do I make you the owner again?
No problem. You go to participants down in the bottom,
Yep.
kind of center left. Click on that and then go up and find my name. And if you hover over my name under the caret that says more, you can click make that crazy red shirted dude the host. There you go. Hey, you did it. Right on.
All right.
Okay. So one of the questions that we had was about National Guard presence, and I'm scrolling to find it here. Who had the National Guard presence question? Oh yes, it was Chelsea. Chelsea for Visit St. Paul says, do we know how many National Guard are going to be deployed in Minneapolis?
That I don't know. It's more than what we're going to get in St. Paul, but 1,000 should be more than adequate to help us. We'll have a group here right at the Eastern District, and then they'll be, primarily probably at the Capitol, at the Governor's Mansion, and other critical infrastructure downtown, and things like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, Chelsea. Good. Elaine had asked, can we get a copy of the flyer? I put in the chat 2 links, one to the Chief of Police's letter that has the link in the very middle of it. That's right on our website in our blog space. And then the other is actually just to that checklist itself. So if you click on those. The other thing I put in here was the Chief's request a meeting from SPPD link that Senior Commander mentioned. And so it's in there, that smart sheet. So you can see that. If you've got another place that we could do a presentation like this, it sounds like Senior Commander Hallstrom is willing to come around the east side. And that's great. That's wonderful for also we can direct our folks who weren't able to come today to that kind of opportunity as well. One of the questions that I have, and Senior Commander, you mentioned this, it's particular to that cameras. You said there's something that, and I'm sorry, I just missed the detail, so I just want to ask, is there something that if folks have security cameras on their building, they should register them with you or let you know about them? Just, would you say that bit again?
There's been some suburban communities that have started this program where people can voluntarily provide their address and email address and contact information that they have security cameras. They have a ring, they have, some security cameras around their property. Okay. So if a crime happens, we're finding that these videos are pretty beneficial for us to be able to investigate crimes and things, and it captures things when nobody else is around. So instead of us, making cold calls and trying to figure out who all has cameras, we can look at an address and then we can, use technology, Google, and then look around and then say, okay, this person is registered with us, that they'll share their information with us. A lot of people think that Nextdoor, when you share information on Nextdoor, the police department doesn't really monitor those, and we can't see it unless somebody specifically shares it with us. So this is just something that's going to be, coming on board here with St. Paul. Usually, we try to keep up, but it's a relatively new program. It's not online yet. As soon as it comes online, I will certainly share it with everybody and come to another meeting and present it more. But it'll be a smart sheet where you just provide your information, and if we're looking for some video footage, we might ask you to take a peek, and if there's anything on it in a specific time frame, then we figure out how you can get it in our system. Okay.
Here's thank you very much, Senior Commander. I think that people we could totally promote that, and I think people would sign up for that, and we could help kind of share news about that. So another question just about, this came out of our group for Monday, wanting to know about alerts on credible information. We talked about, hey, we know that the city's got an emergency notification system, but it's not really used for stuff like we're talking about here. We know Amber Alerts, and we were talking about like, hey, an Amber Alert on a Saturday went off on 12 phones in my house. Like, wow. And, so you mentioned a couple of different platforms. The business owners and others that are trying to network and understand what's going on, is there going to be, and just push us toward like, this is what you should be listening to. We're going to do a good job right around this kind of thing of getting out more credible information for where we see things popping up. Is that, do I understand you right on where that's headed?
Well, that's that Twitter handle. I don't know, is that the right term?
That's
Twitter
the right
handle?
term. Yes.
Steve Linders and the PIOs will
nothing too. Go ahead, Senior Commander. Sorry.
The PIOs, Steve Linders, Sergeant Natalie Davis, and then I think other PIOs from the fire department and others will be helping out with that. But they'll be pushing updates on, there's a demonstration blocking, X street at this moment in time. The Facebook feeds aren't quite as probably real time live as the Twitter is. But that would be the platform that a lot of the information is coming out in. The Amber Alerts, we specifically keep those limited to Amber Alerts because we don't want people to become numb to these constant, like your auto warranty is up, calls.
Yeah, how many people are getting those? Like, I got 3 this morning. Okay. Hey, you too, Senior Commander. Okay. Well, so that Twitter handle, I'll work on just getting that slide back. Or did anybody catch that Twitter handle? Anybody jot it down? Pop that back in the chat.
When you've had enough talking to me, I will. I'll go back in and then I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Because I think that's one of the things. I just saw some nodding on folks whose cameras are on. That's one of those things I think we need. You know, where should we be watching to figure out if the Rumble is coming our way? Other questions and so that's certainly one. I want to just ask.
Sure, it's already there.
Somebody got it?
And Lori put it up there.
Oh, look at that. They were racing. Darren, you're going to have to share your $5. All right. Anyway, that was from earlier, everyone. So, Senior Commander, I want to ask you this question. Are there, you know, the things you've proposed for businesses, and I put this in the chat, David Alarcon is helping ESABA put together some resources and some approaches to help businesses take action on those checklist items. You know, where do I start to put an emergency and safety plan together or update the one that I have? You know, this is kind of out of the realm of what I was thinking about, where some good guidelines, guidance for how to do this. David is helping us put that kind of packet together. One of the major questions that's come out as we've been doing this work is there any preparation going on that community groups are doing in a more coordinated way about boarding up? You know, on the east side, community groups got deeply into, and Chris and I talked about this from the St. Paul Fire Federation and others too, to get involved in helping with board up. We've identified that it would be best to do that in a coordinated way, or, you know, like now, as you've said, like we've had some time to prepare. Do you know of anybody at the city level or anybody who's talking about how we coordinate that kind of resource for businesses any differently this time?
Well, like you said, it's kind of a grassroots coordination between groups. It's not something that the city can, I don't think that, you know, boarding up private property is something that the city can really, you know, spearhead. Yeah. But I think that there's probably an interest in, you know, between the groups and different businesses. I think it's a fantastic idea. If there's something that I can do to help, you know, work on that communication, you know, whether it's, you know, using, you know, some of the LACPA kids, maybe if you started a group and had information on it, you know, we could flyer, we could go up and down Payne Arcade, go down Maryland, over towards Sunray, and we could just knock on doors and send flyers. You know, I think we rely on a lot of technology and this type of platforms to communicate, but we certainly are not opposed to going out and doing the old-fashioned door knocking and handing flyers with information on it. You know, okay. And then I would also, you know, the types of businesses you have, there seems to be a pattern with the target businesses. So obviously liquor stores, pharmacies, and mobile devices, cell phones. So if you have any of those stores, those would be places, you know, shoe stores, there's also another one. But those are the ones that we saw that were primarily the targets, even away from the concentrated efforts that we saw last year. So an emphasis on those would be a wise choice, but great idea. And we'd be more than willing to help where we can. It's just, I don't think it's something that we are going to be able to take ownership of.
Thank you. I just didn't know if there was more higher level coordination conversation going on. I'm going to be looking for that conversation, everybody. So, you know, I'll be letting you know what I find out. Other questions that are coming out here. Chris says she may have a resource for me regarding boarding up. So we'll talk about that. And I think that's one of those areas where we may experience something different than we did last time. I've heard community groups say, you know what, we may not be able to mobilize like we did last time. You know, so there may be an opportunity for those of us who are looking for an opportunity, you know, a way to help support and help move along. And certainly I like the triage conversation. We have learned some things. Who got hit? You know, pharmacies, liquor stores, shoe stores, the folks out at the mobile devices, like 3 of them over on the east side that had nothing to do with centers of activity, got hit. So yeah, that's helpful, really helpful. Other questions, everyone? Or David, you wanna jump in here too? Say hi to Senior Commander anyway. David he's talking.
Sorry, just to add to what the commander said, I think that the very valuable resource the police can provide is a heads up of what's happening. And I think that Twitter page is great. So I think that that's the lead that all the smaller community organizations need to take in order to make a decision of what preventative actions they're going to be taking, like boarding up. And I think since a lot of people don't tweet, I think that's the proper term, tweet. You know, something that these organizations can do is put a feeder page on their own website that people are familiar with, so they can monitor the police department's Twitter feeds. And as that organization, as the members can start making those decisions of what to do to either board up or do any other preventative actions that they're able to do if something might be coming their way.
David, thank you for that. I want to ask Darren to respond to that. Darren's the website designer for ESABA and for others as well. Darren, if you are live and listening at the moment, how hard is it to pop a Twitter feed from somebody else's account up on our website as a banner, say?
There, I believe, excuse me, I believe you can go and put in a Twitter feed, a link, and do a feed generator, and it updates real time. I think I just did it for another client. So I think the answer to that is yes. You could link to a page with that feed from the banner, but it could be added on a page on our site.
Okay, so that's I'm highly interested in that idea. David, thanks for that thought. Darren, let's kind of put a pin in that one, come back to it. All right, so my around the Zoom question for you all from our, oh no, now I've copied too many links and I don't have the agenda up anymore. But the around the Zoom question for you here, everyone else, to chime in and generate a little more conversation and ask is, what role in preparing for civil unrest can you help play? Or where has your network outreach led you in the last month? So this is like, how are we spreading our network? But let's talk about civil unrest for just a minute, and then we'll shift into like, where's our network outreach taking us? And I've had some good conversation with some of you recently. But what role are we, what role in preparing for civil unrest can you play? Or do you feel like ESABA should play? You know, are you kind of seeing a space where you fit in or we fit in? A sense of that? Anyone want to respond to that? I am seeing no.
You know, I can.
Go ahead, Brooke.
This is Brooke here. Yeah, you know, I think that, I mean, in situations like this, over communication is always better. And so, you know, I don't know if it makes sense to, you know, Paris, as you're advised by the St. Paul Police Department, maybe you check in with them once a week and you give, you know, a situation report or something, you know, have some components of that update, you know, that are important to the membership that you can kind of give on a regular basis.
That's great, Brooke. And you think, and I could do that on all of our platforms. Like you'd see it on Facebook, it'd be out in our newsletter, and it would be up on our website. You know, like that would be pretty easy to do. Okay. And it could come to you in an email too. I guess if people were interested, it could come right to your email box. I mean, I could just overwhelm you with communication.
Well, I will say that, you know, as a business that was kind of in the thick of it when the University Avenue stuff happened, the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce, B. Kyle, was really good about sending, you know, and I did not mind having those emails inundate my inbox because it was so moment to moment, and it did help us evacuate our building in a timely fashion, and we did have to evacuate twice. So, Brooke,
that is so helpful right there. And I think exactly. And what B did was got those into people's inboxes. I mean, she sent an email. So I think that's one of the things that I want to begin putting together as we do this. You know, I don't have just a drop. Well, I do. I have just a big drop for our membership. Okay, I'll try that this round too. That's a great idea. Just for all members as a way. Go ahead, Senior Commander.
I was just going to say, you know, we at the police department have started utilizing Microsoft Teams. a little bit more, and that's a decent platform to be able to communicate like a group text message live as you go. And if it's a free, I don't know what kind of, if you're using Microsoft products on your computers, but you can download the app on your phone. And I'm not promoting Microsoft, but it is a decent platform that we can communicate with ourselves, with each other, without using the text messages, and then it's archived. You could also put flyers and all sorts of stuff on there, and it's archived in there. So if you wanted to go back and look for something, you're not, looking in your email or looking at trying to find things. But you could, if everybody has the service, you could create a East District ESABA team, and then you could try to coordinate and communicate in that capacity as well.
That's a helpful suggestion. I think we'll see what members really want to do with that. That's great. All right, so we had a question about examples of suspicious behavior that we should be on the lookout for. You mentioned the cars without license plates as a really kind of specific example. And yep. Taylor asked, what else should we be looking for at this time? Also, if we have extra time, she'd love to hear about the license plate anti-theft program. So go ahead.
Sure. Suspicious behavior, that's a tough one. It's even difficult to define. Cars driving up and down at a slow, everybody is flying around now. I don't know if it's COVID or if it's just what it is, but the 20 is plenty is clearly not followed. So if there's a car that's going 5-10 miles an hour down the street or into the alley, it's technically illegal. I don't know if you knew this, to go from alley to alley in the city of St. Paul. But please don't start calling because somebody went from one alley across the street into the next alley. There's got to be more to it than that. Cars loaded with 8 kids, driving around in a car with no plates on it. It's very broad suspicious behavior, and it just comes with 20 years of law enforcement experience. I look at things and I'm like, oh, that's suspicious. So if you see somebody up next to a car, and they got the old-fashioned Slim Jim and they're trying to get the car unlocked, to somebody that's not a suspicious-minded individual like myself, they're like, oh, they locked their keys in their car. I look at it and I'm like, oh, they're trying to steal that car. So I get out and I would get out and talk to them. But just stuff that's out of the ordinary, something that you don't normally see. A crime prevention tip that I put on our Facebook page a couple weeks ago or last week. If you normally go home and nobody follows you, and it's 8 o'clock at night, and you see headlights and they seem to be following you as you go, drive past your house, go to a populated place, make a phone call, call 911 if you want, but just being aware of your surroundings and things that are just out of ordinary. Don't get out of your car with your cell phone in your hand, engaged in a text message chain. Be aware of your surroundings is probably the best piece of advice I could give you. Be aware of who's around you, what's around you, and where you are, and what's out of place, what doesn't seem right. So the license plate anti-theft program, I don't know, Paris, do we have time, or do we want to cover that next week? Or
you want to give us a blurb on
Sure.
what we can expect? It's like a teaser. It's like a trailer.
All right, so we've noticed that there's an uptick in license plate thefts. Vehicles that are being stolen, we recover with no plates on them, meaning they took those plates and put it on a different car, more likely than not. So as an effort to try to prevent that or make it more difficult for people to take the plates off, we have purchased 1,000 anti-tamper screws. And they're free of charge. You can even drive right into the Eastern District Garage. An officer will go out there and trade out the 4 screws. You have to sign a waiver that says that removal of these screws later could be difficult, and that we're not responsible for it. But just a stupid idea that I had, that I'm like, well, why don't we just make it a little bit more difficult for them to be able to take the plates off instead of just having the standard straight screwdriver. We got 255 people that volunteered that they wanted to participate in one 5-day stretch. So we haven't promoted it very much because I had to find many more screws that I could actually afford and find funding for it. So it's going to be something that we continue, and it's not just going to be something that is a flash in the pan. We're going to try to promote that even more. So That's
Wow.
pretty much it.
Fantastic. That's great. If folks want more information on that, how could they chime in and, you just pull right in and,
Well,
wave?
there's a Smartsheet link on. So if you like Eastern District Facebook, there's a Smartsheet link on there to the program, and you can put your information in there and you'll go on the list. It might be a month before we get to the bottom of the list because I originally did it. It's just as a, is that it right there?
Thank you, Taylor. Taylor put it in the chat. Yeah. Sure.
So I did it just as a pilot to see who would be interested in it, and KSTP did a story on it, and it exploded. So it quickly outpaced my ability to keep up with it. But we're gonna expand it to the Western District and elsewhere. So
nice. Throw
your information on there, and we will eventually get to you.
I love it. Hey, that's just the east side. At the crux of an innovation. And I just want to thank you, Senior Commander, like what a great idea. And I'm glad you're wildly successful and you have to find more screws.
Yeah.
Good problem to have. I just want to say two more things, and we will get to this second question, but we're not going to do it right now. We're going to do just a few announcements as we kind of finalize. But one of the things we want to do is track with you about how you're reaching out and connecting inside this network or using these as ways that you are connecting with other people in ESABA, or using ESABA as a way to expand who you're talking to and connecting with. That's one of the major functions of doing this work, and one of the major things I can help with. So if you're trying to meet somebody, as we're kind of doing this work around civil unrest, we're going to be meeting a whole bunch of new people. But ESABA has 120 members, and if you're trying to meet somebody on the east side that's doing something and you want to check in with ESABA and me about whether we know anything that's going on about that, please reach out. That's one of the major things that I do to try to be helpful here. In that vein, we're going to be having a conversation with ESABA nonprofits in 3 weeks. Jean and Elaine, go ahead and wave, have been very interested in convening the East Side nonprofits that are part of the network, and others who would like to be invited, to learn more about what nonprofits are doing, how we can connect and collaborate, how we can accomplish some of our goals that are beyond just our own individual scope, what's on your mind, those kinds of questions. So we're going to be designing that meeting, and you should be watching for that coming up soon too. Katie Matson Daly popped this into the chat too. I just want to make this something that we're going to be focused on in the coming months. Less of a physical safety thing, but emotional safety in light of the trauma that will come from the trial itself or any civil unrest. She says she's available to be a volunteer chaplain to any of our staff, clients, someone who needs support or someone to talk to. This is one of those things that's been brought up before as well. Like, how do we help our community in the midst of this? And that is, like, how do we help them find places to positively articulate and express if, that tension that's going on? How do we get them connected? But also, how do we help them to weather this and be less unsettled or less disturbed? It's difficult to kind of figure out what language even to use. Shatika was helping me with this at some point in this process too. We'll want to come back to that and figure out how we support the East Side in ways that are positive and supportive and helpful. And Senior Commander, you didn't mention this necessarily, but I'm assuming too that it's not just, there's a lot going on in a protest situation like this. Counter protest is also going on, and we saw guns on the street by counter protesters, and I'm assuming that the police department is prepared to stop people who are carrying guns and ask them to put them down in the dramatic ways that you sometimes do.
Well, that is a very sticky topic. Minnesota is a permit to carry state, and it doesn't say it has to be concealed. So people can be walking around right down the street with a fully slung rifle or the AR assault rifle looking platform. That is one of the problems, and I don't want to call it a problem. That's just, it's their right. And if they have a valid permit to carry, that's just the way it is. So we check permits and things like that, but there's nothing illegal about walking down the street carrying a loaded rifle if you have a permit to carry and are not a felon or prohibited to carry from another capacity. I'd also like to point out that Kat Brown has joined us. She is the new investigative commander Kat, if you can say hi, but throw your information into the chat on the side there. And then also on there, that Chris Castle name, he's the patrol commander for the Eastern District. They haven't joined us here before. They don't have video capabilities, but I'll let them just give a quick shout out.
Thanks, Commander. Yes, so I've been involved in different community things along the way. I've actually had the firsthand experience of the civil unrest for the past 6 months. Before I came into this role, I was out actually working on a strike team, addressing protests and helping people to safely exercise their First Amendment rights. I helped be present around 200 plus protests in 6 months, and all of them went actually very well. So I think we're very prepared for what's going to be ahead, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be peaceful throughout these coming months. But if not, we're here to protect you all and our officers and our city in a good way. So I look forward to meeting you guys over time. If there's something I can do, I will throw my info in the chat there to get a hold of me.
That'd be perfect. Thank you. You know, one of the things I will do is reach back to just understand when we should be connecting with you, you know, just understand more of your scope. Chris Castle as well, same, I'll be reaching back to you. So if you'll both put your information in the chat, I can learn a little bit more about when we should be connecting with you two officers. Thank you for being on the call. Finally, well, not finally, but I just want to follow up, Commander, Senior Commander, a fully slung assault rifle would count for me as suspicious behavior. That's just not something I see every day. So I'd be calling you on that one, just to let you know.
and that's fine. I would concur with you that that is suspicious behavior. But, you know, don't be surprised if, you know, you see an officer pull up and engage and then drive off with that person still in possession of that rifle, because that meant that they had a permit to carry. And it's really only a misdemeanor to not have that permit.
To not have your permit?
Well, to not have a permit, you know, so a lot of times they'll just show the permit and then they'll be on their way. So you as private businesses can post, we ban firearms on this property, but not on the street. So
makes sense. Thanks.
That could be another topic in and of itself. Terry, for you, Paris, down the road.
Yes, very good. Thank you all for coming. I know we're just slightly over time here. Appreciate everybody on the call today. And like I said, we'll put a recording for this up. And if you've got follow-up questions for me or other resources that you're looking for, or announcements to make that we didn't get to today, send them to me so that I can promote stuff on Facebook and just move in a good way through our network with information that you want out there. So want to work on signing off, but also just say thank you so much, everyone, and do reach back to me. And thank you, Senior Commander and officers on the call, for being with us today.
Appreciate everybody. Thank you for joining us. Look forward to working with you.
Right on. Thank you, Senior Commander. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you, David, too, for being on.